it is my understanding that when this deer problem was discussed at I assume it was a council meeting, that 3 councilmen promptly said, let's have a hunt. We're going to go on a hunt, and we can't wait to get the hunt started. And that there were other alternative plans there, but not discussed. And I would love to see those discussed before they start shooting deer and possibly passers-by as well.
Mr. Barker, this is Tom Sherwood, a local reporter here in town. What could be done? There seems to be there's 2 problems. One, there are too many deer right now, and you can't go up and build enough fences or whatever to keep them away. There's not enough deer repellent to keep them away. How would you thin this herd of deer immediately? Then you do a long-term plan, maybe to do something about spaying, whatever it takes to cut back the population. What would you do to cut back the population?
Tom, I do not have the knowledge or background to tell you how to manage deer or manage any other animals that become a problem because of population, except dogs and cats, which is spay and neuter. Now, I understand that there are alternative measures to be taken, which have not been adequately discussed. And what those are, I have not been able to find out as yet, but I hope to have that information in the near future.
Your basic view is that all animal life should be protected, I would guess.
Well, absolutely, in every way possible, of course. These deer have become a part of that neighborhood. There are probably people living there who moved there because there were deer there. They are harmless and wonderful, wonderful animals.
The Maryland Department of Natural Resources says that it's typical or reasonable to have 25 or so deer per square mile, but when the last census was done by an aerial survey more than a decade ago, the number in the Montgomery County area was more than 4 times that. The population was more than 4 times that dense, and presumably it's even worse now, although we don't really have numbers at this point.
That's true. The last census was done in 2002, and they estimated between 50 and 200 head of deer per square mile in Rockville. And it's a huge number, and you're right that you can't really use contraception, aside from the fact that you have to go through this big process in order to do the procedure. It's also very costly. And that's something that's very hard to do in city budgets, just like any other government agency, are tough for money right now.
If you go forward with this deer hunt, and this would be shooting them, not bow and arrows, is that correct? It's not a bow and arrow hunt, or is it?
It's not a traditional bow and arrow hunt, and maybe we should talk a little bit about the hunting method in general.
But before we do, I just want to say, let's assume you do a hunt, a successful hunt, and you kill any number of deer within Rockville. What is to keep the deer then from coming from other parts of Montgomery County and just repopulating, right? Is this going to have to be a series of, like we'll have deer hunting season in Rockville?
Well, it won't work that way. Let me first point out that both Howard County and Montgomery County do this. They already have deer. Yes, they have deer management programs, which include managed hunts in a controlled environment. This is very different than what Mr. Barker was referring to. He has this impression that we're going to just let people go and you're going to have these guys sitting in the back of pickup trucks slugging down a Coors Light and with a gun and just taking pot shots where they can. But that's clearly not the case. There are going to be there are very strict rules. There are organizations out there that we've spoken with who actually conduct these hunts on behalf of city and county governments. They do it in very restricted areas. There's a minimum distance in which the hunt has to take place from an inhabited dwelling. They make sure, through a series of notices and through careful guarding of areas to make sure that everyone is excluded from the area where this is going to take place. And they do the cleanup, and they're out of there.
Stuart Hagan is the chairman of the Whitetail Deer Task Force in the city of Rockville. I'm Mark Fisher, and this is the Politics Hour on WAMU.